This is Susan Bradley for CSO Online. It seems like every week there's something in the news about ransomware, and this week I saw several stories that made me remember we're still very much an easy target for ransomware. First off, I saw on the CSO Online site themselves an article from Sophos talking about how attackers gain access to the network and lurk in the network for weeks. And they snoop around and prepare to attack your network. They understand our network sometimes better than we are. They're allowed to download and install backdoors. And they gain access into places that we probably don't realize. Another change in how ransomware attackers are pivoting is rather than a pure ransomware attack, they're now leaking data to extort funds before they provide the actual ransom themselves. The attackers have access to our network, again, for many weeks before they launch the attacks. They examine the network and review how best to attack us. They use PowerShell commands to perform lateral movements. And often it's hard to determine the initial threat vector, how the attacker actually got in. Did they come in through email, which is typical? Did they come in through RDP? Another typical way. Did they come in through VPN, possibly vulnerable VPN software? Sometimes it's hard to determine that initial threat vector. But once they're in, they usually lie low for a while and then determine the best way to attack your network. One way that they do is they abuse privileges inside your Windows network. Now, Windows privileges are something we use all the time. But attackers have a way to know which ones they can abuse and use. And in this chart, and you can blow it up to make it a little bit bigger, there's certain specific privileges that tend to be used quite a bit by attackers. And these are the ones you want to run logging on, or specifically see if you can establish your baseline in your organization. So you want to see what is normal for your organization, for example, in SE create token privilege. And then if something becomes abnormal, like suddenly you see quite a few of these privileges occur in your system, you want that to be an alert so that you can say, wait a sec, something is not right in my network. So establishing a baseline of these Windows privileges is key to understanding your network. Another way that attackers often come into our networks is through Word or Excel documents, and especially macros. Now, you need to step back for a second and determine how to set up your network. I guarantee you that not everyone in your office environment needs to have access to macros. There are going to be people that, while they may need Word, they don't need to run a macro. So therefore, it's key that you use techniques such as group policy or Windows Intune to set boundaries for these users. Determine exactly who in the office needs to run macros. Set up an organizational unit, set up GPO ADMX templates, and specifically have those users allowed to run macros. Make sure it's set to have them digitally signed. Make sure that anything that comes from the internet are untrusted and throws off an error message. And worst case scenario, you go all the way up to an E5 license on those risky people that perhaps are targeted, perhaps need to run macros, but are potentially a targeted person in your environment. And you want to run an E5 license for those people. And you'll get specifically an application called Application Guard for Office. Now you have to have this on machines that have virtualization, have certain requirements. You have to have a Windows 10 Enterprise Edition. You have to have an E5 license. And you have to have a certain enterprise channel of Office. But once you do that, you can enable Application Guard for Office. And when the risky application comes into your environment, you'll get it'll be a virtual machine or isolation that is set up and looks at the Excel or Word document before it opens it up on the system. And as you open the application, it'll actually, the screenshot will indicate that it's opening up your Microsoft 365 environment in a virtualization or application guard environment. Weaponized documents have been used in over 60% of Office attacks. What attackers are doing as well is they're pretending to come from known cloud applications. For example, they'll pretend to be from DocuSign or Box or Doc.com or some kind of Office 365. So they'll trick the user into thinking this is a proper document. Instead, they're pulling a malicious Office document down from the cloud. Again, this use has increased by 58% over the last year. And cloud apps are now 1 in 3 phishing campaigns. Do you get the idea that the attackers know that we're moving to the cloud, know that we still use Office documents, know that we have these spots where they can attack us, know that we have weaknesses in understanding our environment, and that's why you need to take the time to understand your environment, monitor, log, look at those Windows privileges, determine who in the office truly needs Office macros. For anyone who doesn't, turn them off. Until next time, this is Susan Bradley for CSO Online.